In the meantime, people at Tim's work, this is Friday now, are getting concerned because Tim doesn't come to work. And he always comes to work, or he lets them know if he's not coming. They text him throughout the day and ask him some questions related to work, and he doesn't respond. And this is not like Tim at all. So they get concerned. And one of his close friends and co-workers, Tammy Warner, calls the defendant around 4 o'clock and says, "Hey, Tim didn't come to work today. What's going on?" The defendant, "Oh, I don't know. I don't know where he is. I'm going to run over to the apartment and see if he's there." So he goes over to the apartment. Tim's Jeep's there. He doesn't go in. He calls Tammy back. "Well, his Jeep's there. I lost the key, or Tim took it. I don't have the key, so I can't get in. But his Jeep's there." Tammy says, "Well, we need to do a well-being check. Call the sheriff's office." "Okay, I'll call the sheriff's office for a well-being check." He calls the sheriff's office. This is a lot after 4 o'clock. "My husband Tim didn't go to work today. His Jeep's at an apartment we own." They say, "Okay, we'll send somebody out." The sheriff's office sends a deputy out. This is Friday, around 4:30, 5 o'clock. The defendant's not there, but the deputy gets there, and the deputy calls the defendant on the phone. The defendant's calm, no sense of urgency, and says, "Oh, my husband didn't go to work today. We have this apartment. I'm not really concerned. I don't have a key, so I'll try to reach the landlord to get a key to go in." Because the defendant had no sense of urgency, was calm during the call, and didn't tell the deputy anything that would give him cause to break down the door to see if Tim's in there, the deputy says, "Okay, well, you're not telling me anything that can let me go into the place, so if he doesn't come home tomorrow, you can do another well-being check. Call us back." "Okay, fine." So the defendant then, that Friday evening, the 24th, goes to an AA meeting around 5:30. And everybody that sees him there knows something is wrong. They describe him as red-faced, sweaty, nervous, fidgety. And they ask him after the meeting, "What's going on?" And he says, "Tim and I got in a fight. I don't know where he is. He's not responding to my texts or my calls. And his Jeep is at the apartment." And so a couple friends say, "You're a handyman. Take the lock off the door and see if he's in there." The defendant's response is, "I'm not technically on the lease, so I could get arrested for burglary, so I can't go in there." Okay. But of course, all of Tim's friends are now very concerned. The people from work, the people from AA, they're calling and trying to reach Tim. So now we go into Saturday morning. Still no sign of Tim. The defendant goes to work. Back to the villages to do some handyman work. In the meantime, all of the friends are calling him. Have you heard from Tim? They are panicked. He is not. Where's Tim? Have you heard from Tim? You've got to get into the apartment. Okay, fine. I'll call the sheriff's office again. He calls the sheriff's office around 10 that morning. "Hey, can you come back and do another well-being check? I've gotten in touch with the landlord now, and we have a key to get in." So this is around 10 in the morning on the 25th. They send another deputy out. And the deputy comes out. The defendant is already there at the apartment with the landlord, Jack, and they have the key, but they're just standing there. The deputy goes up. "Hey, what's going on?" "Hey, that's my husband's Jeep there. I haven't seen him in 2 days. We have the key." "Okay." Deputy takes the key, goes into the apartment by himself. And of course, we know what he finds. He finds Tim dead on the floor with the ligature marks around his neck. They're clear and defined and black, and they go around his neck. And he doesn't have any pants on, and he's been beaten. And of course, the deputy immediately suspects that it's a murder. So the deputy goes outside, and the defendant says to the deputy, "Is he in there?" And the deputy says, "Yes." And he says, "Is he okay?" And the deputy says, "No." He doesn't cry, break down, ask one question about what the deputy found. He doesn't say, what happened to him? What kind of condition did he in? Is it a suicide? Not a question. The deputy tells him, "I'm going to call major crimes. They're going to be on their way." He never asks, "Why are you calling major crimes? What did you find in there that would make you call major crimes?" He says, "Okay." And the deputy says, "Give me a little rundown of the story." He tells him the well-rehearsed story. We went to bed at 9:30. I woke up the next morning. I thought Tim was still there. Maybe I was wrong. He didn't go to work. I haven't seen him since then. So the deputy calls his sergeant, and they call major crimes. And they call forensic crime scene technicians. And they put yellow crime scene tape up, and they mark off the whole apartment. And the detective, Daniel Pinder, is assigned as the lead detective in the case, and he comes out, along with many other officers. And they spend hours processing the apartment, swabbing things for DNA, checking for fingerprints, taking photographs. And they spend all day, almost all day, Saturday doing that. Now on Monday, the 27th, the sheriff's office has a briefing, which means they get together all the detectives together to talk about this case. And Detective Pinder gives them a rundown of what they have. And they start assigning different detectives things to do. So they give some detectives, they say, "We want you to go back to the area around the apartment. Talk to all the neighbors. See if they know anything. Check everybody that lives around there for cameras. Ring doorbell cameras, anybody that may have any footage." Okay, we're going to have those people do that. Send some detectives to where they live, their main residence. Talk to all the neighbors there. Check for cameras from neighbors that live right next door. See what that shows us. They send some detectives to all the businesses that are between that 2-mile stretch between the residence and the apartment. Go to every single one of those businesses and see if they have any video surveillance. Also, check the trash. They check the trash at the apartment complex, and they check the trash there. And they start interviewing people. So all the detectives are doing all of this work. And while this is happening, the Marion County Sheriff's Office puts out 2 press releases that say, "Hey, we're working on this murder. If you know anything about the murder or about Tim Smith or Herbert Swilley, please contact us." And the floodgates open at this point. Friends of Tim and the defendant start contacting the sheriff's office. And what they paint is a picture of a marriage in trouble, with one of them being very angry, the defendant, and not happy with Tim. And this is upsetting to Detective Pinder, because the defendant told him everything was fine with the relationship. Everything's great. We're not fighting. We have a great marriage. But that is not what all the friends, co-workers, and everyone else started telling the sheriff's office. One of their friends, a close friend of both of them, named Candace Baker, called in, went down to see the Detective Pinder. And she said, "Listen, I went over to the house on Sunday, the day after they found Tim's body. And from the moment the defendant answered the door, I was upset because of how unconcerned he was that Tim was dead. But more than that, when I got inside the home, he was throwing everything of Tim's away. There there was a big garbage can in the pantry. All of Tim's food and snacks and vitamins were in that. All of Tim's knickknacks were in the garbage. But what upset her the most was there was a stack of framed portraits on the table. And they were professional portraits taken of Tim and the defendant and Jordan. And he was going to throw all of those away. And he told Candace, I can finally have the house the way I want it. So, even though they were getting all of these tips and statements from people that knew them, Detective Pinder still made sure he pursued any other potential suspects. If somebody called in a tip and said, hey, you need to check this person out, Detective Pinder did it. The forensic crime scene processing turned up 2 other men's DNA and fingerprints on some lubrication bottles that were in that apartment. Detective Pinder located them and were able to rule them out as suspects. So he was running down every lead he possibly could. As he's doing this, more and more information is coming in. He learns about the insurance policy and the retirement fund. And he gets all that paperwork. And he learns from the insurance company that the defendant is calling all the time trying to get that money. And then he talks to more friends who say, yeah, we've been talking to the defendant, and he keeps telling us how he can't live without that insurance money. And he really needs that insurance money. And he also told one of their friends, hey, I'm planning a big trip at the end of the year once I get that insurance money. You want to come with me on this big trip? Detective Pinder's obviously concerned about this. And then Detective Pinder gets the toxicology results back, because they take a while to get back with Tim's blood. And he finds out about the extraordinarily high level of diphenhydramine in Tim's blood. As he's getting all of this information in and all this evidence, it's all pointing to one person as the murderer of Tim, and that's the defendant. So for the next 6 or 7 months, Detective Pinder spends countless hours going over all of the video that was received from those businesses that were on the roof between the apartment and the residence, and the videos from the neighbors. Because there's a lot of it, and it takes a long time to go through it all. He goes through all of that. He also painstakingly goes through the defendant's cell phone and Tim's cell phone, which will have geolocation information to tell you where did that phone go. And also tell you, was somebody on that phone actively using it, or were they not? So after Detective Pinder goes through all of those cell phone records and reports, and all of the videos from the businesses and the neighborhood surveillance, he is able to prove what the defendant did that night of the 23rd into the 24th, and where he went, based on those records and those videos. And what can be proven from those records and the videos that you will see is that in the evening of Thursday the 23rd, nobody left the house. The white truck of the defendant's was there, Tim's Jeep was there, both the defendant's phone and the victim's phone were both there on the 23rd. But in the early morning hours of the 24th, Tim's phone travels from the residence to the apartment and is at the apartment at 2:12 in the morning on Friday. Coincidentally, what else travels from the residence to the apartment at that exact same time? The defendant's white pickup truck. You'll see a video of that. The truck is there for about 20 minutes. Then the truck travels back to the residence. Then Tim's Jeep Tim's white Jeep leaves the residence at 2:40 and arrives at the apartment at 2:45. And we know that, and you'll see a video of that also. And we know then, after he drops the Jeep off at 2:45, he's going to walk back. And you'll see a video from the Marathon gas station that's right on that road between the two that shows somebody walking right towards the direction of the defendant's house. And Google Map puts the time it would take the defendant to walk from that video to his residence, having him arrive at the residence at 3:26 a.m. Well, what else do we know happened at 3:26 a.m.? You will see the cell phone reports that show the defendant was accessing the Ring doorbell camera at 3:26 a.m., right when Google Maps puts him arriving at the house. After he accesses the Ring doorbell camera and deletes all the video footage, he goes on Facebook, and then he goes on Grindr. And he's on there until he leaves to go to the gym that morning at 4:40. And remember that every detective that talked to the defendant, he told every one of them, I never left the house. I was asleep the whole night until I woke up to go to the gym. The evidence and the videos will show that that is not true. And when you hear from all the witnesses in this case, that will tell you the things the defendant said about Tim, how he felt about Tim, how he wasn't going to let Tim leave him. And you see all the videos from the businesses and the neighbors. And you see the cell phone reports of what the defendant was doing on his phone. We will prove to beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant wanted Tim dead, he carefully planned out his murder, and he executed that plan with deadly precision. And the defendant is guilty of first-degree murder. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. No, thank you.